Welcome, wonderful dreamers. I made a double batch of spaghetti bolognese with vegetables. Alongside freezing the bolognese for future meals, I want to make a lasagna. First, I'm going to attempt to make a white sauce. I have 50 grams or 2.5 tablespoons of butter. I have put it on low heat. First, I melt the butter before adding flour. The basic rule I learned is, follow the ratio of one of each. 1 tablespoon butter or margarine, 1 tablespoon plain flour, 1 cup of milk and 1 pinch of salt. So if I add 2.5 tablespoons of butter, then I have to add 2.5 tablespoons of flour and milk. Once the butter is melted and starting to simmer, I add the plain flour. Traditionally, this is made with white flour, but I'm using wholemeal, so it'll have a slightly nuttier flavor. Now that the flour and butter are mixed, it's called a roux. The roux needs to be cooked for 2 to 3 minutes. Apparently, I do that so the raw flour taste is cooked out and the thickening agent is activated. I keep it moving to avoid it burning. Now that it's been cooking for a few minutes, I add the milk. I changed from the spoon to a whisk to help prevent lumps. I slowly add 2.5 cups of milk. I like to add a pinch of nutmeg. It adds a subtle, sweet warmth, but this is totally optional. And lately, I have been adding more black pepper to my cooking. Because I've used wholemeal flour, which isn't as refined as white flour, you will be able to see flecks of bran in the sauce. I keep the heat gentle because I find it easy to burn milk. So I heat the milk and keep stirring until the sauce thickens and coats the back of the spoon. Instead of feeling like stirring milk, it starts feeling like you're stirring custard. When I'm making white sauce for a lasagna, I add a small amount of cheese to the sauce, because cheese is yummy. I'm using Parmesan cheese and tasty cheddar cheese. The sauce is done, so I'll take it off the heat and stir the cheese in while it's still hot. I'll put it aside so it can cool down a bit before I make the lasagna. It's later in the day, and I am going to make the lasagna. I add a bit of sauce to the bottom so the pasta doesn't stick or dry out. Now it's time to build the layers. First, the pasta sheets broken into size. Then a nice amount of spaghetti bolognese with vegetables. Then a generous amount of white sauce. And I keep going till I reach the top. Then I add a beautiful layer of tasty cheddar cheese. Pack the leftover bolognese sauce up for the freezer. And cook the lasagna. The oven is preheated to 170 degrees Celsius, which is around 340 degrees Fahrenheit. I bake it for 35 to 45 minutes, or until it's hot throughout and the top is golden. And then I'm going to cut it up into single portions and put in the freezer. I had lasagna for dinner last night. It was very yummy. So with the 4 meals for the freezer plus 1 for tomorrow night, is a total of 6 lasagna meals. 3 spaghetti bolognese meals have already been eaten, and then 3 for the freezer, is 6 spaghetti bolognese with vegetable meals. 12 altogether, and that's pretty cool. If you would like to see how I make my spaghetti bolognese with vegetables, let me know in the comments below. I hope you had a good day.